Well, welcome back to Simple Truth, where we try to pull some simple truths out of the Word of God. We're in the story, been in for about 2 years now, been in the story of David. Just trying to go through his life and what are the things that we can pull out and learn from his story? What are some of the things that maybe as you read, you'd see or maybe you wouldn't see? What are the things that you see that I wouldn't see in this story? Uh, Sometimes simple truths are really hard to find. They're hard to find because we think of the Bible as being super complex. We think of Christianity as super complex. And like, oh, I got to worry about this and put this together and put this thing. And sometimes we forget that we're just a puzzle piece that God puts into place. Our the things in our life are just puzzle pieces that God puts into place. Funny, I'm doing another 1,000-piece puzzle. I like doing them. They're methodical, and uh, I can get caught up in thinking about a particular piece. I can get caught up in trying to find a piece, right? And I know that if I just find that piece, the rest will come together quickly. And you get so focused on one piece that you can't find the piece, right? And then you take a second and you go somewhere else or you leave the puzzle, you do some other part of the puzzle, and all of a sudden it's funny, you'll just run across that piece, right? As we're doing what we're supposed to be doing in life, we'll run across the things that God has for us. But when we get super intense about, I got to get this, now there are intense moments for sure. But we can miss what God is trying to do in the intensity of a moment. I hope that makes sense this morning. I want to start chapter 23. That's where we are, right? And it says this starting in verse 1. Now, they told David, behold, the Philistines fighting against Keilah are here robbing the threshing floors. So again, now David has this group of men. We talked about that, been talking about this, that have come to him. And these aren't nice men, right? These aren't typical soldiers. These are men who like to fight. These are men that are running away from their past. They're doing all kinds of stuff. And David has now collected them. Now, what do you do with them? It's funny that God is going to use them, right, as kind of this little militia that goes out and does the little battles, constantly earning David favor amongst the people. I was talking about it this week, about not despising the little things of life, right? We were talking about the fact that Jesus' mission, his ministry, started with him being at a wedding in an obscure place, right? Changing water into wine. Now, that doesn't sound like a great coming out party. No big, lots of people. Like when this is a wedding party in an obscure little village, you're not talking about hundreds or thousands of people, right? But this is a small group of people that Jesus was with, and that's how his ministry started. Don't despise the little things. David wasn't leading the forces, the armies of God out into big battles. This is a little village that's being attacked, probably being raided by the Philistines. It happened every spring, right? That when the kings go out to battle, right? Every spring there's this jockeying for position and possession of land and resources. And so the Philistines are going out and doing this to this little village. And David hears about it. I wanna camp here for a minute. We've talked about this before, but I want to remind you, right? Sometimes we hear about things, little things, and to everybody else it doesn't matter. But to us, it seemingly is a big deal. Do you ever have somebody walk up to you and say, well, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, Andy. Don't worry about it. Right? But for some reason inside of me, it is a big deal. Now, sometimes it is I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, right? Because I have some kind of agenda. I'm mad at you. So what you did to me, I'm making it 10 times bigger. But sometimes there's something in us that just says, there's something more to this. There's something behind this. Sometimes when I sit and I'm talking to people, and again, I use 50,000 words to their 10,000 words, right? But sometimes if I can still myself and I can listen to them, I'm going to hear some things that all of a sudden I'm like that's significant. That's important. And I don't really know why. Right? But so let's dig into that. Why is that significant? And it's funny how many times this happens, right? And it leads somewhere. When I was younger, way younger, on Christmas Eve, my two cousins and I decided that we were going to go hiking. And we went hiking in the gorge in Westfield, New York. And we were, it was a little bit of snow, a little bit of ice, but it was a beautiful day, right? 50 degrees and just beautiful. And so we're walking down this gorge, and both of my other cousins were way more daredevils, and I'm the quiet, shy one, right? And the very cautious one. So the short story is my cousin Craig ended up falling in cold water in December 24th, right? And he's sopping wet. And we realized very quickly that we need to get out of here, right? We need to get out of the gorge. We need to get it to a car. Need to get warmth. And so we're trying to find a place, and we find this steep incline that we climb up, right? And it's funny because we climb up this hill and we get to the top, and we're kind of racing up, trying to get momentum to help us climb up this thing. And we get to the top, and it goes in a straight down, right? Straight down drop off. There's just this little tiny deer path that we hook onto the top. Probably not more than a foot, 2 foot, 3 foot wide in nature. Very, very small. But you can tell it's a path. So we decide, hey, wherever this goes, we're gonna take it, right? We have no idea where we are, no idea where we're going, right? But we decide to take this path, and pretty soon this path gets wider in nature. Eventually, it turns into a tractor trail. We can see the logging tracks or the tractor tracks along it, and we're following. And then it becomes a pretty well-established trail. It gets bigger in nature. And then it turns into a road finally. And finally, we see a house, right? Where we were able to go in and call and get warm. And my parents were able to come and get us. But I think about that story often because we climb up this hill. For some reason, there was an urgency within us to climb up this hill. It didn't make a lot of sense. And we found a little tiny path. And that little tiny path led us to where we wanted to go. Don't despise the little things that God has you doing. That little act could lead to a bigger act, which could lead to a bigger act, which could get you where you're going. But it works that same way in other people. Don't despise the little thing in other people. Take notice. Let me close with this, that Mary pondered a whole bunch of things as she was going through her process, looking at it, right? And just pondering, what does this mean? Sometimes God will stop us in a moment and say, hey, Annie, ponder this for a second. This is important. Nobody else is stopping. Everybody else is flying by. So don't despise the little things. But when you hear of things, when you hear of the enemy working, people being attacked, things happening, stop for a second. If it catches your attention, stop. Park for a minute. Ask God, hey, what is it about this moment? Maybe it's something in my life I need to take care of. Maybe God's calling me to pray in this moment or to help you in this moment. Lots to chew on there. We'll see you next time right here. Simple Truth.